Hey, it's Chris Herbert, and it's Monday. What is today? Monday, Monday, May something. Monday, May the 5th. It's funny, I was looking at something on my computer, and for whatever reason, it's showing March 3rd, so I got a bit sidetracked. Yeah, so I'm going to do an AMA session with ChatGPT today. I might cover some other things, but I'll start with an AMA session. I'm, again, experimenting with these podcasts. The views are astounding. I am sure to get one of those silver YouTube plaques any day now. He says that with a huge dose of humor and a little bit of envy. No, again, I don't know where these podcasts will go. Yeah, so I thought, as I was thinking about what to talk about today, I thought, you know what? I'm doing a lot of work with AI, and I thought, hey, what happens if I had an AMA session and ChatGPT would be a guest listener? So I didn't give it much prompting. I just thought, let's see how it goes. So here we go. Let's kick it off. So question number one, I'll probably do five, I think. Question number one is a warm-up question, I'm told by ChatGPT. What inspired you to start Area 81 and why now? So many people talk about supporting rural entrepreneurs, but you actually built something. What was the spark? So we're building it. What was the spark? Well, I love entrepreneurship. I love working with entrepreneurs, and I really want entrepreneurs, especially folks in rural communities, to know that becoming an entrepreneur is and can be an option, and I want to help them be successful. But I know that it's not just something that I need to do for them or I can do for them, but we need to build a collective of other rural entrepreneurs, some who have been there, done that, some who are starting out as well, and be founder first, founder led. A large portion of our economy is dependent on entrepreneurs, not just in this country, but in the US and probably other countries too. And entrepreneurship is what fuels our economy. It's what fuels innovation. So I want to do it in this little patch here in Grey Bruce to start. Okay, so what's the next question? Next question, please. Of course, some people wonder, should you be polite to ChatGPT? I always am. Will it change anything? I don't know, but why not? Okay, so the next question is, you've worked with entrepreneurs at all stages, from side hustlers to those scaling toward acquisition. What's one misconception people have about starting a venture in a rural area? What's one misconception people have about starting a venture in a rural area? I think that's a tough one. I think there's probably as many answers as there are entrepreneurs, but I think a misconception they have is that their idea is great out of the gate, and they don't really need to understand from prospective customers and more broadly just people in general as to whether their idea is going to be compelling enough, that there would be enough people wanting to buy. So we sometimes get so enamored with our ideas, that we sort of become blinded and think that, yeah, this is going to be the best thing from sliced bread. Right? I've had conversations with people who have said, well, I've got the next $100 million idea. And that's great to be excited about an idea. You need to be not 100% sure, but be pretty sure that somebody's going to actually care, and that your problem that you're solving with your idea is something that is worth it. Okay. There were other ones too, but I think that's a good start. So what's the next question? What do you wish more people understood about the value of peer-to-peer support among entrepreneurs, especially in rural communities? That's a great question. So I have this concept called value exchange, and I think I borrowed it from Stephen Covey. And essentially, when you're looking and assessing a relationship, and I'll have a link to a blog post I did about value exchange in the description notes. Essentially, you need to look at relationships with people, especially when you're talking about your business and being an entrepreneur, through three lenses. Those lenses are economic, social, and cultural. And the chances are you're never going to hit on all three. The economics is pretty self-explanatory, although it's not just about whether somebody's going to pay you to do something, so that's part of the economics. But there are two other economic considerations when you're working with or potentially working with other entrepreneurs, and that is, are you developing an asset together? Are you purchasing an asset together? Will you co-own an asset, whether it's intellectual property or physical property, that sort of thing? And then there's also equity-based assets. So there will be situations where you may be faced with an opportunity to receive equity in exchange for your time. Yeah, so those are the economics, cash, equity, and some form of asset. The other one is social. So social is really about who you have in your network that can help you, and who within your network you can help. And then any of the folks in your network who have access to other people in their network who could be useful for you. So that's a social piece, and sometimes you may come across somebody who's really well connected. Sometimes they're known as a connector. I tend to be that type of person, where they can make introductions on your behalf, as long as you have a relationship of mutual value and respect. Just as a tip in terms of making introductions to people, I always recommend what's called a double opt-in, which is find out whether that one person would be interested in meeting somebody. Sometimes I'll tell the name of that person, sometimes I won't. I may say, hey, would you like to meet the CEO of a tech company in this space? And they'll go, yeah, I would really like to. I won't mention the name. Then I'll go to that CEO of the tech company and say, hey, this is the individual that I'd like to introduce you. Would you mind if I introduce you? And then I sort of achieved a double opt-in type of thing. Even though the first person doesn't know who that person is, they know that the quality of the person they're going to talk to and meet, and the relevance of making that connection is of value to that person. So again, always look for a double opt-in. It's kind of weird when you get an introduction out of the blue from somebody and you don't know who the person that's introducing you to is. So it's kind of weird. Yeah, so that's social, and then cultural is just knowledge. So, there are people, in a relationship or potential relationship who have great experience in a certain discipline or within an industry. So that's how you would measure, peer-to-peer support is, is this peer a potential customer? Is this peer a potential connector? And is this peer, offer something in terms of knowledge and experience that you don't have? So, okay, so the next question, please, in my ChatGPT AMA is, you've interviewed a lot of rural entrepreneurs for your podcast. What's one story or moment that really stuck with you, and why? The first one that comes to mind, there's two. The first one that comes to mind is from Jamie Butler, who was a farmer in the UK. He was adopted, and he, I guess, really feels deeply grateful to his parents for adopting him and giving him everything they could, in addition to, you know, having him grow up on their farm and learning how to run it as a business. It seemed to really, it seems to really keep him motivated, is, you know, maintaining the legacy of his parents in terms of what they did with the farm and growing it into something even more meaningful in their name. And then there's another one, Richard Gills, who started GPTEL. He started it based on a bet where his future father-in-law basically challenged him, because he said that, you know, in the rural area that his cottage was, there was just no chance in heck that he could get internet. And Richard took that challenge, built a tower, and basically proved his future father-in-law wrong, and they had connectivity to the cottage, and that's how he started GPTEL. Right? It was based on a challenge, and he eventually he's happily married to the lady that he was dating at the time. And interesting enough, recently Richard has sold his company to a private equity firm. He's also a founding member of Area 81. So two really cool stories. So the last one is, last question, please. Let's see what ChatGPT comes up with. Let's make it count, it says. If someone listening today is on the fence about starting something, whether it's a business, a project, or a new chapter in life, what do you say to them right now? Well, if you listen to other people, they just start, and that's not a bad idea. Just start something. Start it on the side. You know, talk to people who you trust. But you know, don't be afraid to start something. And the way that you can do it is just think of it as a project, as a side hustle, as something that is something you want to try, and then put parameters around what that means in terms of a project. You know, whether it's you want to, if it's a hobby that you want to maybe commercialize, you want to try a few things, but start and experiment. And then the last thing I would say is just go and check out a lot of the free content that Ash Moria offers through his company. Check out his book Running Lean. And then there's a gentleman who started AppSumo, I think it's called, and he's an interesting guy. And I'll put it in the description notes. A link to his. He wrote this book called The Startup Week. You know, I think it's like 48, start a business within 48 hours. So I would take a look at some of his content. Yeah, but I would stay narrow. Like I wouldn't go and look at every single YouTube video. YouTube's a great place to find ideas and to find people that resonate with you in terms of advice, for sure. But I would pick one or two as opposed to, you know, getting overwhelmed with too many thought leaders or experts in the field. Yeah, I would say to anybody, you know, figure out a way to be an entrepreneur if you can. Spend some time exploring entrepreneurship as a career, as opposed to working for a company. So I would keep that in the back. I keep that in your back pocket all the time, right? And think about ways that you could maybe start a side hustle, that sort of thing. Yeah, so that's it. So that's my first experiment with an AMA session using ChatGPT. I will try it again some point in time, and that's about it for the AMA. Last thing I'll talk about is going to the Canadian Squash Championships this weekend in Toronto. I'm in the 60 plus category. Wish me luck. And this is a pretty big deal. You know, there's world caliber squash players playing in the or in the touring event. You know, show court, glass back show or full glass show court. You know, ticketed event. You know, people playing in their 70s, wheelchair doubles. I mean, it's really a great showcase um, of the sport squash. You know, squash is a fantastic game. It's been something that's been integral in my life since I was a little boy. It's a great sport, and I hope anybody listening to this thinks about giving it a try. Now there are emerging sports that are worth a try too. So padel or paddle, depending on your preference of pronunciation, and then pickleball. So these three racket sports, I think, and tennis as well to some degree, you know, are sports that people can play, help in terms of their health and well-being and socialization, and networking, to believe it or not. You know, squash has been very good to me, both physically, spiritually, mentally, but also professionally. You know, I've got jobs through squash. I've got clients through squash, and I continue to benefit from the game in so many ways. It's the same with any sport, I think. But you know, it's a great sport. Recommend anybody give it a shot. So that's it for this week. Hope you have a great week, and you know, wish me luck for this weekend. And hopefully, I'll play well, and I'll have something to talk about next week about how that tournament went.